What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us on this Thursday morning, obviously 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have a special guest today. I'm personally really excited because not only is this an awesome partner of ours that we have grown to know and love, but it's also a personal use case of mine. So I'm personally really excited for the conversation that we're gonna have today. So let's get into it. Matt, what's going on? How's it going?
Good. Hi, John. How are you doing?
Doing really well. So thank you for joining us. I know it's a little early. Obviously, I think you guys are based out of Utah, right?
Yeah, so it's not quite as early here, but I don't have the luxury of the nice warm California weather to greet me in the morning, but
Yeah,
that's
it's
all right.
actually yeah, it's been really cold here. I mean, it's been like low 40s, so that's really cold for by our standards. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. I just wanted to share a quick, personal story of why I think why I'm a huge just fan of modern spare in general. So, about a year and a half ago, I was actually out of town, and my wife was actually she was driving, and she was out late with the kids, and we have at the time we had three kids, and it was about I think it was like 10:30 or 11 p.m. at night, and she was driving, and as we know, most Teslas don't come with a spare tire. And so by the time she got a flat tire, she pulled over. And then next thing she did was call Tesla roadside service. And thankfully, a cop did show up, but it still took a lot of time for, Tesla roadside service to come and put on the new tire. And, looking back, if we had a modern spare like we do now, it would have completely changed the game. It would just, we would have thrown it on within minutes and we would have been on our way. And it doesn't matter what time of day it is. But especially as, a father with a young family, and obviously with my wife, it's just can be a pretty scary experience. And so that's why I love this this product. That's why I love even the title of this. Could this be your most treasured Tesla accessory? Because it's just one of those things you don't always need it, but when you do, it's vital to have. So I thought we could just so that's my personal story and why I thought it's awesome to have you here. So thank you for joining us today. But I would love for you guys just talk about the modern spare journey. Give us a little bit on who you are, what brought you to modern spare, and what you guys have been up to.
Well, thank you. Yeah, modern spare is pretty unique. We've been around since 2017 officially. Of course, the initiation of the company and the start of this journey 2016 really. And it stems from a very similar experience to what you had. Our owner Cody, um, he he's actually an avid Corvette guy, and Corvettes they have been without a factory supplied spare tire for quite a long time. And now as we're seeing that becoming more and more of a trend, in the auto industry in general, Corvettes. Some of the original fifth generation Camaros were some of the first to start not supplying them. So the company started just out of a simple need, and a similar experience to yours. And so Cody just had the idea that, hey, let's see if we can put something together that'll really solve this problem if the OEMs are not going to supply them anymore. And so that's the start of modern spare. Now, since then, there's obviously been a lot of growth and a lot of changes as far as our goal as a company. We learned early on that there's an awful lot that has to be considered when you're designing a spare tire, much more than you'd realize. And that comes from the fact that cars, well, as you know, cars are becoming more and more sophisticated. I mean, I'm speaking to a Tesla guy here, so you know that more than anybody. Um, Cars are just not the same. And so back when spare tires were supplied by the car makers, cars were a lot simpler then. And to design a spare tire, if I was a car maker and if I was designing a spare tire, there'd be a lot more that goes into it um, to be the right fit and be safe to use on a modern car. So hence modern spare. That's our name. I say we're unique in the sense that spare tires is all we do. We're not a big accessory company. We're not a massive e-commerce retailer that had a cool idea. We live and breathe spare tires. As boring as that sound, you'd be surprised that it's really not. We live and breathe spare tires 24/7. Um, that's kind of the joke because we really don't get a break. But yeah, we could talk all day about spare tires and not get tired of it. So that's
Yeah.
kind of who we are. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and so it sounds like obviously you have actually I didn't even realize that history about the Corvette. So that's really cool case that it actually was, you know, this use case that you guys built actually didn't stem from Tesla, which is, really cool history there. But what is it different? Like, I think you guys gave the example. You may come in March to one of our events, the Tesla Owners Day, but you may put four spare tires on your car. But like, what is the modern spare difference exactly as far as?
Well, yeah, I could go down a pretty lengthy list and tell you what really needs to be considered to design a proper spare tire. So going back 20 years ago, when your car did have a small donut or a space saver spare, the critical thing, of course, was to have the right bolt pattern, and they put limitations on the range and the speed and those kind of things. Um, well, nowadays you have car makers that are competing heavily with each other to have on paper performance um, specs. And in order to compete, you're going to have to constantly increase brake sizes. You're going to have to alter, you know, tire offset. You're going to have to traction control is a big factor that has to be considered. And so when designing a spare tire for a modern car, it's an arduous engineering task. Let's put it that way. It's not just a simple thing. Now, I think that plays into a lot of the reason why the car makers aren't supplying them. A lot of people get frustrated and think, well, they're just being cheap. They're trying to cut cost, or in the case of EVs and hybrids, they're trying to have improved range, on paper by reducing weight. Those are factors, but I can tell you what we've had to put into designing spare tires. um, it indicates to me that for a car maker to put that kind of effort and energy into providing a spare tire, I think they just say, you know what, it's not worth it, because they have data that shows that a large percentage of car owners are kind of okay with it, even though it's frustrating. Now they're okay with it until they experience what you experience,
Yep.
because especially on a road trip, a flat tire that can turn into 2 to 3 days worth of a headache if a local small tire shop doesn't have the tire that you need in stock and they're kind
Yeah.
of far away from everything.
Yep.
That can be a real headache, and so you're looking at hotels, you're looking at lengthy tows, or just waiting, for that tire to be shipped in and be back on the road. Um, so I usually caution people against being too frustrated with the car makers, specifically Tesla, because they have a lot of challenges right out of the gate that kind of makes them throw their hands up and say, well, yeah, a spare tire would be nice, but it's just not practical. Um, and generally people kind of accept that. Like again, until they have an experience like yours, and then they start rethinking it and they get frustrated. Um, but yeah, it's a major trend in the industry. More and more car makers are eliminating spare tires because of weight and cost, but then more importantly, because they'd have to really engineer a pretty um, elaborate spare tire, for them to work on a lot of cars. So it's not just a simple bolt pattern match or anything like
Yep.
that. There's a lot that goes into it.
So, and also too, I love the name Modern Spare. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes, as you said, that have been happening in the industry as cars are just really just changing. You're going from cars without many computers really at all. Obviously, it had a lot of stuff you typically don't see, just the screens. But now, fast forward to 2023, most cars now are coming with tons of technology, computers, big screens. So how has the company's goals like changed as the car has changed as well? I think specifically, like, what was your guys' original goal versus the goal now, especially as the industry is changing?
Well, Cody, the owner of Modern Spare, Cody, he can attest to this as well. Is that um, he, we've learned a lot as we've gone along, but yeah, I mean we've named the company Modern Spare because um, the cars just will not tolerate a spare tire that's not designed right. And some of those factors that you have to consider is not only the bolt pattern, the brake clearance, the tire diameter is super critical now more than ever. When you're talking about sophisticated or high tech drivetrains, nobody is doing what Tesla is doing or to that level. I can say. Um, there's a few European car makers that are just flat out impressive, without a doubt. And so we dig into a lot of that and a lot of those specs. But if you just look at traction control systems just alone, one thing that's been fascinating I've learned about Teslas is how much they do to properly manage the amount of torque that those cars are producing. Some people that are deep into the Tesla world have shared with me stories of that unharnessed torque can just be almost deadly. And so there's been so much put into managing that torque properly. It really attests to the advancements that Tesla has. So when we design a spare, we have to consider all those things. One thing that is a little unique is people like the look of our spare. They think it's an attractive spare. We did not design that wheel to look good,
Yeah, and
even
I'm
though it does. It's a nice bonus. But what's kind of fascinating about that design is we actually have partnered with one of the largest OEM wheel manufacturers to manufacture our spare. So this is a proprietary design. But the
Yeah, I just
reason
wanna
our
flash this up. This is the view of the spare tire
yeah,
on a Model 3, right?
yeah,
Or Model
hmm
X, actually, I think.
oh, yeah, good. You would know better than I do. I kind of grabbed a bunch of random pictures for you there, but um, the design of that wheel is the result of some careful engineering that was the goal was to have excuse me, the lightest weight possible, and still have the highest strength. I don't need to tell you that EVs are obviously very heavy. So rather than designing a wheel to accommodate the curb weight of, say, a Model S or a Model X, we actually build the wheels so that they match the actual axle capacity of the Tesla. And so, in order to accomplish that and still have a narrow, compact spare tire that will work on that car, the design that you're looking at is the result of that. So it's not just a sketch out. Oh, this wheel looks good. Let's build one out of that. So that's why our spare is lightweight. I think the wheel and tire combined for the Model 3 is about 32 pounds. Makes it really easy to manage, makes it easy to install. Um, and then, of course, it's 6 inches wide, so it's very compact. It's not going to occupy a lot of space. John, that actually that brings up another thing specifically for Tesla. If I could interject this, a lot of people are asking us about storage.
Yeah, look at this. This
Um,
is, I think it's a Model 3.
mhm,
So this gives you a visual of how much space in your back that this takes up. And with,
yeah.
4 kids, this is not much space at all. So you can still throw a stroller on, even put this underneath, maybe even put it in a different compartment, but it doesn't take up much space at all.
Yeah, there's quite a few cars that no longer have spare tires that still have a dedicated storage space, and we try to accommodate those whenever we're able to without sacrificing, proper sizing. But Tesla, right from the drawing board, there was no spare plan, and so they're not going to have a spare tire storage space. And so given that, it is a question that comes up a lot. It's like, well, what do I do with it? And so that has been one of our major goals right from the start, is to keep the spares as compact as possible, still have the performance, usability, safety, and of course, the narrow size and lightweight, that would make it practical. Otherwise, people could just buy a fifth factory wheel and tire. But man, when you start carrying those around, they're just enormous, and it loses its practicality. Um, and so yeah, that's our goal there, is to make sure that it's practical to store the spare. Some of the hacks that our customers have shared with us, um, for people that commute locally, like they just drive their Teslas back and forth to work. Um, they actually leave the spare at home, which I it kind of caught me off guard when we had some of our first Tesla customers share that with us. They found that if they have a failed tire, it's so much faster to have a friend or family member or somebody bring the spare to them, and then have them back on the road and
Yeah,
functioning throughout the day. Because
yeah,
even if Tesla roadside service or another roadside service company can take care of you, you never know the wait times. I had a car breakdown 1 mile from my house. This is probably 5 or 6 years ago, um, and it wasn't a tire issue; it was a mechanical failure. So I waited for a tow truck, but just I think I think it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I think I got a tow like at 3, just 1 mile
wow,
from my house. So
yeah,
I think about that. And like, man, if I had a flat tire on my Tesla on the way home from work, who knows what that's going to turn into. So yeah, I could
yep.
have my wife bring me the spare, pop it on, I could be rolling again. So yeah, for local commuters, a lot of people will do that. And then on a road trip, you can still pack the car full. We're not going to occupy a lot of space, but then you have that peace of mind of being able to get down the road, um, especially on the middle of nowhere, no cell service or no roadside assistance. So
Yeah, unless I think the big thing there is yeah, so I think it's ultimately like what is the comfort of each owner. But I'm the type of person that unless I'm thinking about this being one of the items that goes in the suitcase, a lot of times I may forget. So for me
yeah,
personally, if I'm not keeping it in the back of my car or my Model X, it's just going to be one of those things you forget. And then again, you get into this situation where, hey, I just spent several $100s for a modern spare and I'm not even using it. So I think it really just depends on, what matters to each person.
yeah, yeah.
But I wanted to ask, like, what are the off the top of your head, like what are the most important things that you guys had to consider when creating a spare tire? Like
Um,
what are the biggest factors? We don't have to go
for
too deep,
For
but
Tesla or for just cars in general?
I would say let's keep it Tesla specific, or you could keep it EV specific if it's kind of similar problems or
Yeah,
design things
there
to deal with.
there there could have been a lot of shortcuts that we could have taken to, try to keep costs down. A lot of shortcuts that we could have taken in design, but you start getting away from the original goal of keeping the spare tire light and compact. Number one, but then also built. I call it being overbuilt. You kind of mentioned about coming to one of the club meetups and driving on 4 spare tires. So we're actually in the planning process of that. We want to drive 12 hours on 4 spare tires just for the fun of it. But um, but going back to that, I kind of got sidetracked because I'm thinking about these fun things. But um, our goal is to maintain the quality of the product. Um, we're very picky about what tires we put on our spares. We don't choose tire sizes that are of our own creation. So, and the reason that's an advantage to a spare tire owner is because years down the road, or if a tire gets destroyed, they don't have to come back to us to buy that particular tire. That's going to be something that's readily built or available from Continental and Kumo and these different manufacturers. But we're very picky about what tires we put on the spare kits because they have to have standards that match our wheels. They have a specific DOT M speed rating. You'll find that Continental really wants you to keep the tire under 50 miles per hour, but yet it has a DOT M speed rating, which indicates that it's been tested to a constant speed of 81 miles per hour. We chose that tire because we know it's capable of more than what Continental recommends. So that's going to be a good radial tire
Yeah,
on that one.
because if you're
And
on
that's across the board. So
a road trip, you're not gonna be able to go 50 miles an hour.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So,
Yeah, and we've had to be careful because people say, "Well, can I go 81?" And I say, "Well, the DOT M speed rating has indicated that, but you have to remember it's a narrow spare, so I can't determine if your braking dynamics are going to change, because of the size of the spare. So you have to drive it with caution and remember it's not a permanent replacement. Um, but going into the sizing of the tire, you'll notice that the tire that we use on the Model 3, the Model Y, the Model S, Model X, they're all different sizes. The reason we've chose those specific sizes is because each of those cars have a different overall tire diameter. And by making sure that we are um, matching those properly, that's what allows you to drive on the tire longer than typically 50 miles like you'd see on a normal spare tire. Because it's more so speed isn't as important as being able to get where you need to go, especially if you're out in the middle of nowhere. Um, Trying to get to a tire repair shop or even back home on a road trip, it's much more advantageous to be able to drive, 100 miles, 200 miles to get where you need to go. So yeah, that's one of our design goals, just keeping it compact and lightweight. But we overbuild them. That's our goal. Is we overbuild these. If you're familiar with Kyle from Out of Spec Motoring on YouTube, he's got a YouTube
yep.
Out of Spec reviews. I think that's on that channel where he strapped 4 of our spare tires on Model 3 Performance and went drifting. And we're going to actually replicate that. We're going to have a lot of fun this summer. We're going to try to destroy our spare tires and see what happens. But yeah, that's a good indication that we overbuild them. We don't mess around that way. So
Yeah, especially if you're on a road trip, typically you're not going to just be driving 50 more miles to some destination to pull over. You're probably going to try to make it to the hotel again, depending on where you are in transit. So it's important to
yeah,
have something where you can actually, go a little bit further, or go, the extra mile, I guess, is the big thing.
yeah,
But here, I just wanted to show a couple of these photos, again, so people can kind of have like that right size. But I think, for modern spare specifically, can you just talk a little bit about where you guys are headed? Like, what's next for modern spare? Because as we know, the industry is just changing. So this is obviously also too. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what you get as part of the spare tire, but this is kind of some views of like what it actually looks like.
Yeah. So, John, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I had a little shift with my headphones here, so I just want to make sure. The future of modern spare, like I said, all we do is spares. We live and breathe spare tires 24/7. So we're getting real aggressive with the product development, innovation. We're always looking at ways to improve. especially the after the sale service. We're really trying to kind of revamp, the instructions we provide to customers, and easy access to those instructions, so that if the time comes, big if, that you have to use our spare, that experience is just exceptional. Because it's one thing for us to sell you a product that makes you feel, or gives you peace of mind, but when it comes time to actually using it, we want to just eliminate any possible issues that might come up. And so that's our goal right now, as far as the company, is making sure that becomes a much better user experience that way. We're constantly scanning the horizon for new car models that are coming out and trying to be ahead of the game. I will tell you that we're actually pretty slow with coming out with kits for new models. And the reason is because there's a lot that goes into it, and I don't want to just throw something out there and then find out it doesn't work. There's been situations where we've made that mistake, and we've had to do what we can to take care of our customers in those instances. And so, yeah, we're a little slow. Obviously, to get a hold of a Lucid Air is kind of tough. I can't just go down the street and borrow one, so we're a little slow about releasing products until we know for certain it's going to work for our customer. But yeah, that's a constant thing we're working on, is expanding our catalog. Trying to keep up is quite a task. BMW is actually a big seller for us, but you would not believe the variations in trim levels and models on those cars. And so I could have BMW product development as a full-time job and never complete it. So yeah, that's a big focus for us. As far as what the kits consist of, going back to the fact that we want that experience to be seamless and easy. You're going to have a jack, you're going to have a wrench set. The wheel and tire comes mounted, ready to use. The jacks that we supply with our kits are specific to the car model that you own. Not all jacks are
Great.
jacks, just are not universal. And
Yep.
so we make sure we spend a lot of time and effort into making sure that we provide you with a jack that is the right jack for your car. Yeah, it's just been a great design, and that's something that we take a lot of pride in.
Awesome. And how is that experience? How have you guys created that experience? Because when I'm even looking at this set here, what type of experience did you guys or thought went into actually creating this kit? Because I don't know if this is a typical kit, but this seems like, if I just look at this view, it looks very simple. It's literally the jack, and then essentially the nuts, and then the things you essentially need to unscrew, and then boom, you're like ready to go.
Well, I can tell you, yeah, I mean, keeping it simple, because that's going to keep it compact and lightweight. We have a lot of other accessories. In fact, you and I were talking earlier that we have that coupon code that we're offering for the Silicon Valley Club members. TOSV is the coupon code, where we're supplying like a roadside safety kit along with some collapsible wheel chocks to just make the experience a little more, make the kit a little more thorough that way. But keeping it simple is important. Our wrench set has those 2 sockets, but they're reversible so that they fit 4 different socket sizes. The jack is specific to the Teslas, works really well that way. That's a 4,000-pound jack. In fact, one of the questions we get often, people ask us, well, my Tesla weighs more than 4,000 pounds. And I'm like, yeah, but we're only lifting a very, small portion of the car. And so, 2,000 is more than adequate. We could have gone with a lighter weight jack, but we just didn't feel right about it. So we went with that 2,000, the 2-ton jack, the 4,000-pound jack for the Tesla.
Yeah. What are some alternatives that people will typically see for spare tires, and like, why should someone potentially get like a spare tire versus some of these alternatives?
Glad you brought that up. So that's that's a big area of frustration for a lot of car owners because they learn about the alternatives at the worst time. Um, what you'll see in most cases with most car manufacturers is they'll provide you with a small air pump and a bottle of sealant that it works in conjunction with the air pump. So if you have a flat tire, it pumps the sealant in the tire and supposedly off you go. It's one of those things where you're crossing your fingers and hoping that the sealant works, that the tire stays inflated and it gets you to the tire shop. Now, what we hear from the guys at the tire shop is once you get that sealant in the tire, it's almost not worth the amount of labor that it takes to clean that tire out if it can be repaired. And that's if it gets you there. So yeah, it causes a lot of headaches, for the guys at the tire shop. If you hit a pothole and you have a serious sidewall blowout, that tire sealant is kind of worthless. So then there again, you're stuck on the side of the road. So that's one alternative that a lot of manufacturers are relying on. And in some cases it's adequate. Even just having a tire pump is nice, for a slow leak to get you down the road. BMW in many cases, Mercedes, going back even 10 years ago, really went full on into the run flat tire option as an alternative. I have had the opportunity to speak with a ton of our customers over the years, and you would not believe how much hate I hear from them about run flats. And I haven't had a lot of experience with them up until being part of Modern Spare. But the big complaints that I hear about the run flats is number one, their ride quality is awful. I've never owned them. I don't know, but that's what they tell me is the ride quality is awful. So you spend a significant chunk of money on a BMW, fantastic automobile without a doubt, and then you have an inadequate tire as far as its ride quality and its performance. The second complaint I hear about run flats is that they wear out. I mean, people are getting maybe 20,000 miles out of them. On top of the fact that they cost what they cost, it's just not a great alternative. And so the reason BMW has been so popular for us is because people are ditching the run flats. They're putting on much better tires. They spend less on. They get a lot more mileage out of them, and the ride quality is way better. And they got a spare tire that'll work. What happens with run flats and what people don't realize is that if you lose air pressure in a run flat tire, it can get you 50 miles down the road to a repair shop. But once you drive on a run flat tire for, say, 50 miles, in most cases, they're not repairable. So you're looking at replacing that tire anyway. Then if you're 50% or more into your tread life on an all-wheel drive car, you're not going to want to throw just one brand new tire on that car because you have to consider the all-wheel drive system and the tire diameters, being even,
Yeah.
that type of thing. So people think, oh, I've got run flats, I'm okay, I can get down the road. And man, they get to the tire shop and then it's just like the reality hits them in the face. And suddenly those are not ideal alternatives. We're starting to see BMW actually shift away from those, where they're just offering either a sealant or a kit or something, because I think there's been, a good solid 10 years worth of frustration from BMW owners, being pushed into that as an alternative. Those sealer kits, the inflator kits, the run flat tires, and then of course in Tesla's case, the alternative is just roadside assistance. No doubt Tesla has been game changing in how they've tried to implement roadside service. But for a flat tire, is that really practical? And We have a lot of Tesla owners that are happy they found Modern Spare because they don't have enough mess. They don't have to mess with that. For other breakdowns, yeah, fantastic. But for a flat tire, it just doesn't seem practical.
Yeah, I think the best option for you to just get up and running again is going to be going with like a simple kit like this, where you can again potentially go. I mean, not that it's recommended to go past 50 miles an hour, but it has the ability to, go up to something a little bit by that. But it's just peace of mind, especially again, it's just that one time it's just going to take, where you're just on the side of the road and you don't have a spare tire, and and typically when you do road trips, at least for us, it's always like really early or late at night. And it's going to be
Yeah,
one of those things that could, really add five, minimum 2 to 5 hours, if not days, on top of your trip, and a bunch of additional expenses. You start talking about a hotel, you're talking maybe 250 a night. And then again, just trying to, buy all of the new parts anyways, and getting shipment from the local store, depending on where they are. And most Teslas are on performance wheels anyways, for the most part. There's not just something, it's not a Toyota Corolla that are, these tires are just stocked everywhere. So I think it's
yeah,
just really important to, if you're a person that goes on road trips or is doing consistent long distances on your commute and just everyday travel, it's important to have a modern spare tire, I think, in your car. It's important to have that safety of mind, especially if you're a young family. Again, if I was, just single, maybe it's a different story. But even then, it's important that you're doing something that isn't going to cause a huge pain at like that one wrong moment. So, but yeah, so I would say, like, I don't know if you want to share any hints. I think you talked a little bit about it, maybe about the future, of where modern spare is. Maybe some stuff that you're currently working on. Um, Otherwise, I think we've really done an amazing job just informing people, our members, really, of what you guys do, what the modern spare difference is, and how, and again, I learned something new today. It's just, I guess I didn't think, yeah, of course Corvettes don't have spare tires, but just, the use case started from that, and now it's grown into something that, will give every Tesla owner peace of mind, especially if they buy one.
yeah, yeah. It's I can tell you we have a lot of fun here. We're a small group, relatively small company, but who knew that spare tires could be so fascinating? But again, there's just so much that goes into making sure that a spare tire is designed properly, and that's all we do. We take very seriously the feedback that we get from our customers, and especially when they share unique things about a particular car trim level that they have. Um, yeah, we welcome all of that feedback because we're happy to implement any improvements, and we take that approach. So
Yeah, I was actually gonna joke with you. You guys actually might be able to create a rim like this, man. It actually doesn't look too bad, and that's the funny thing. I think you already mentioned that. It's not like you guys were trying to create a nice looking rim, but if you guys come from Utah in 4 spare tires, the car may not actually look half bad.
yeah, this is you mentioned about what's coming this year. 2023 will be the year of a lot of content production for Modern Spare. We're really going to try to get a lot more exposure. We've been focused since 2017 on product development, and really getting a solid foundation of who we are as a company, what our goals are, and our standards. Now we are really looking forward to being able to get out to all the events, get in front of our customers, and get to know them as people. I mean, we're human beings here at Modern Spare. We love what we do, and so this is going to be the year that we have a chance to get out and about. We're going to be producing lots of videos. We're going to make improvements on our instructional videos, all those kind of things, to make sure that, like I said, as the time comes when you have to use our product, that it's a seamless, easy process. Um, yeah, that's our goal.
And so just because our reach kind of expands more than just the US, are you guys shipping to places outside of the US? Like, where are you guys shipping these items to?
We do, just by the nature of the weight of the package. This is a larger product, so it's not like we're shipping, floor mats or some simple accessory like that. So shipping outside the U.S. can get expensive. Um, we actually are expanding distribution outside the U.S., so that'll make it a better option for people. But yeah, we ship quite a few kits to Australia and to Europe and to Canada. Um, and there's a shipping calculator on the cart page on our website that you can enter in your information and get shipping quotes, and yeah, we get them out.
Okay.
So
Yeah, there was a couple of people I think in Canada mentioning that they were potentially looking into it, and obviously it sounds like you guys are shipping all over the place. But yeah, no, I think so if you are a Tesla owner, obviously you'll notice very quickly, especially if you're switching from an old legacy car, that it does not come with a spare tire. As most companies are transitioning out of that, given a lot of the stuff Matt was saying, the complexities of making a spare tire, and also too just how cars are just changing very fast right now. So it's important to have people that specialize in that, which is all Modern Spare does. They're just very focused on the product design and the efficiencies, and again making this the best product that you can have. And again, you mentioned Kyle took a performance Model 3 and just tried to do his best to just destroy them. And these things are heavy duty. So I'm, personally really excited to have that that's what's the word? That safety mind, or that just that mindset that comes with knowing that I have a Modern Spare in the back of my Model X, because it's important that when I'm gone, my wife can drive, and she, even let's say a cop, like again, a friendly cop pulled over last time, he could even potentially help. But it's important to have, even if Tesla roadside or AAA roadside service comes out, at least you can just hand them something to get you going. And sure, that you might have to wait a little bit, obviously not hopefully 5 hours like you had to that one time. But it's important to actually have an option to potentially hand them, because the last thing you want to do is get towed 50 miles. And then next thing you know, they don't even have your tire, because I have a very specific tire on my car. The front is a different size than the back because it's staggered. And so the last thing I want to do is spend a couple nights in a hotel, wait for the shipment, and then be on my way. At that point,
yeah,
depending on where I am, I would rather just pay the additional costs, just get my car towed home, because we're typically going to LA and back, and so, which is about 360 miles. And so at that point, by the time you were to pay for a couple of hotels and things like that, it just doesn't make sense. So if you are thinking about a spare tire, make sure you use the TOSV code to get a couple of additional things that are going to be really important. I believe those additional things I actually went to the checkout. So you get the collapsible wheel chocks along with storable roadside safety kit. So if you're just in the middle of the road, it's just something easy to prop up. So that's additional value add there. So just make sure to use that code. But again, Matt, Tesla owners love you guys. You solved a need that we need. You made a product that is valuable in the market, and people can clearly see that. So I think it's just at this point about building awareness of what you guys are doing. So I really appreciate your time today.
yeah. I really appreciate it, John. We're finding that Tesla owners are unique, but in a really cool way. And we've quickly become avid Tesla fans here. And we just got in a Tesla Model 3 Performance as a company car that we're going to have a lot of fun with. But yeah, it's an exciting time to be alive. There's so much innovation going on in the automotive market. So yeah, we're fortunate to be at the front row of all those changes that are coming about, and yeah, we're having a good time here, and we really hope to perform well for our customers. That's our goal.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you again, Matt. Really appreciate your time today. And I'm just going to say a last couple words to everyone watching. So, we just had over 40 minutes with Modern Spare. Again, what I personally, we don't just allow any uh, sponsor or partner come on and chat about what they're doing. What I love about these companies that our club personally partners with is it solves a need that is vital to being an owner. And so I'm really excited about what Modern Spare is doing. It solves an issue that I personally have, especially gives me a peace of mind, especially when I'm out or my wife is, with the kids. We have a young family, so it's so important to have that peace of mind when you're just driving. You have the Modern Spare in the back, and you're able to keep it with you. But either way, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. Check out modernspare.com. Use the code to get those 2 additional things, those collapsible wheel chocks, along with the storable roadside safety kit. That's going to be additional value add, especially if you're out there on the streets and in the middle of the road. You want to make sure that you're just well lit as cars are coming down. So definitely check them out. And again, tune in next week. We're going to be getting into actually, we're going to be talking a little bit about financing your EV. So check that out. It should be coming either Wednesday or Thursday next week. But I just personally want to say thank you to Matt from Modern Spare. We're excited to partner with you guys, especially this year. And come out to some of our local events, March 25th. They're going to be attending there, so you can even talk to them live. And also, too, they're going to be at the Tesla Takeover, which is July 29th through the 30th. And as you know, May Musk is our keynote speaker. We have amazing other Tesla personalities coming as well. Sandy Monroe, Kim Java, and a lot of other amazing personalities coming out as well. So make sure to check that out, teslatakeover.com. And again, thank you for spending your morning with us. Have a great rest of the day.